Welcome, foolish mortals. Why, hello there, friends. It's Emma here, the Bookish Princess. Today, I am very excited to announce that the Boo to You Readathon is back for its 4th year. If you're not familiar with the Boo to You Readathon, I created it back in 2018. It runs throughout the month of October, and the whole idea is to celebrate the spooky season, but with a little hint of Disney magic thrown in. It's inspired by Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party at the Magic Kingdom. There's a parade called the Boo to You Parade. I just think Halloween at Disney is one of the best times of year at Disney. It's so much fun to go to that Halloween party. You can dress up, go trick-or-treating, meet the characters, ride all your favorite rides. The whole park is decorated in ghoulish colors, and the Boo to You parade is like kind of the best parade. Now, there are 2 reasons why I'm extra excited for this year's readathon. One of them is that Disney World's 50th anniversary is October 1st. They opened October 1st, 1971. These days, if you go to Disney in October, in fact, even if you go to Disney in August, there will be pumpkins all up and down Main Street. Of course, in 1971, they didn't really decorate for Halloween, but I kind of love the fact that it opened on October 1st. It was just sort of a sign of the wonderful Halloween magic to come. So obviously, we're going to be celebrating the 50th with this year's challenges. But the other reason I'm so excited is that I have a co-host this year. I invited the lovely Anne from Princess Lessons to co-host with me. I just feel like her channel is like the perfect fit for the Boo to You Readathon because she loves books, she loves reading, but she also loves Disney. She's done so many amazing Disney vlogs at the Halloween party, meeting the characters. We're going to be doing a really fun Boo to You chat later on in October. So definitely look forward to that. I will link Anne's video up above and in the description down below. Make sure you hop over and check it out. We were chatting a little bit about our TBRs already and hers sounds excellent. I am going to be telling you guys about my TBR today, but first, let me tell you what the challenges are. The challenges have changed a little bit every year with the Boo to You Readathon, but they've always focused around celebrating the Magic Kingdom and like tying in that spooky spirit. For this year's challenges, we are traveling back in time all the way to 1971 for the opening of the Magic Kingdom. It cost a whopping $3.50 for adults to get in, and it was only $1 for children. If you wanted to splurge, you could pay $4.75 for admission plus 7 rides, or you could pay for the rides as you go, kind of like how FastPass now works. The rides were divided up into 5 categories. If you've ever heard some of the best Disney rides referred to as e-ticket rides, that is inspired by the original ticketing system. There were A-ticket rides, B-ticket rides, C-ticket rides, D-ticket rides, and E-ticket rides. And of course, it did work the same way at Disneyland. There are 5 challenges for the Boo to You Readathon this year, and they are inspired by those 5 ticket types. So basically, you're going to have to pick an attraction from each one. Just like if you'd gone to Disney World in 1971, you only had 1 A-ticket, which ride would you pick? For your E-ticket, which ride would you pick? For the readathon, you're going to pick an attraction for each ticket bracket, and then you're going to think of a book that puts you in mind of that attraction to read for Boo to You. One of the fun things about riding the rides at the Halloween party is that they just feel a little extra spooky. It's not that the ride itself is different, but maybe the facade is lighted up, and of course, riding the Haunted Mansion during Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party is super fun. So for your reading choices for Boo to You, you are certainly encouraged to pick something with a little bit of a spooky vibe, but it's always so fun to see how creative you guys get and how you interpret these challenges. You could go literal. Many Disney rides and attractions and movies are inspired by classic works of literature. So for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, that was actually an e-ticket attraction. So for your e-ticket book, you could read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. Or you could go a little bit more broad, just read a book that kind of puts you in mind of that attraction. Let's go ahead and go through the 5 ticket brackets. I'm gonna dive into my TBR and give you guys some ideas of how I might interpret these challenges. But if you're planning on doing Boo to You this year, definitely leave a comment down below telling me about what you're thinking about for your TBR. All right, so we're gonna start at the bottom and work our way up. The A-ticket rides were kind of the most basic attractions. An original Magic Kingdom A-ticket would get you a ride on the Main Street vehicles, the Omnibus, the horse cars. You guys know how much I love the trolley cars. I did a trolley girl costume with my brother Athos one year for Mickey's Not So Scary, which was super fun. Or this is the ride I'm going with for my book pick. An A-ticket could get you a ride on Cinderella's Golden Carousel in Fantasyland. Now they're not doing this these days because of COVID, but previously there was someone who would ride the carousel every morning, a Disney character from the welcome show would welcome everybody to the park and then walk back and ride the carousel. And that character was the one and only Mary Poppins. I feel like I kind of picked Mary Poppins for my A-ticket because I've been meaning to buy this set of books for so long, and I was like, you know what? If I read Mary Poppins, I can buy that box set. I mean, I felt like I kind of needed these though. I did do a Mary Poppins costume. It was her white and red dress, and my brother Athos, who is such a good sport, he was Bert, and we had so much fun with it that the next year, my mom had this idea to do a spooky, haunted, like scary Mary Poppins in black and lime green, and that was also super fun. I mean, I feel like Mary Poppins is a great choice for Boo to You because she's kind of a witch. I mean, I don't think P.L. Travers ever specifically states it, and she's definitely a good witch, but like, she totally has magical warlock powers. I have read the original Mary Poppins by P.L. Travers, but I have never tried the sequels. So we have Mary Poppins Comes Back, Mary Poppins Opens the Door, and Mary Poppins in the Park. We all know Jane and Michael, but actually there were 5 Banks children, and I come from a family with 5 kids. I have 4 brothers, so that's really fun. I think that maybe there are like some elements from all of these that like inspired the movie. Anyway, I do have to decide for my A-ticket read, am I going to try to reread Mary Poppins and then read one of the sequels, or should I just let myself read one of the sequels? Because this happens to me every time I read something where like I've read the original, but I want to read the sequel, but it's been a while since I read the original. So it's like, should I go in order? Should I refresh my memory, or should I just start on the new one? I'm kind of tempted to do this Mary Poppins Opens the Door just because look at how fallish the cover is with the leaves. These editions actually have the original illustrations in them, which is really fun. So anyway, I'm very excited to be revisiting Mary Poppins for my A-ticket read. Now our B-ticket attractions are the Main Street Cinema, Frontierland Shootin' Gallery, Mike Fink Keel boats. I didn't even know who Mike Fink was. I had to look that up. He's apparently a legendary figure, kind of like Davy Crockett. It's so fun looking through these original tickets because a lot of these attractions have changed or are not still there. Some of them are still there. It's just fun to compare and contrast. And then in Adventureland, we have Swiss Family Island Treehouse. Now, I actually read The Swiss Family Robinson by Johann Wyss a couple years ago during a Boo to You readathon, and it was really fun. I'd never read the original before. So that's one possibility. I thought this year I would go for more of a Frontierland vibe. Apparently, the like original Western book that like inspired, you know, that kind of inspired the genre, sort of the quintessential Western, is by an author named Zane Grey. It was published back in 1912. It was called Riders of the Purple Sage. I haven't read a whole lot of Westerns. It's not a genre that I happen to have picked up a whole lot, so I just feel like this would kind of be a fun opportunity to dive into something new, to read a classic Western, get some Frontierland vibes. My C-ticket book is also a book that I've never read before, but I think should be perfect to read and like be familiar with the original. So the original C-ticket rides were the Grand Prix Raceway, Dumbo the Flying Elephant, Peter Pan's Flight, Snow White's Adventures, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, Mad Tea Party, and Davy Crockett's Explorer Canoes. I feel like you have a lot of good options for C. You could go with something sort of princess or like fairy tale inspired with Snow White. You could go with Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. This is a beautiful Rifle Paper Company illustrated edition. I, however, went with The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame, a classic of children's literature. Somehow, I've never read it. I know Mr. Toad though. My brothers and I had a very memorable wild ride with Mr. Toad the last time we went to Disneyland because the ride stopped right after we hit the train and then we had to walk out through hell. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is truly wild. So I did use the Boo to You readathon as an excuse to pick up some new books in this same Puffin Classics edition. There's some really lovely covers. My next D-ticket pick is also a new Puffin Classics purchase. So our D-ticket rides are the Walt Disney World Railroad Trains, aka the Grand Circle Tour, Skyway to Fantasyland, Flight to the Moon, Skyway to Tomorrowland, Country Bear Jamboree, the Hall of Presidents, and the Admiral Joe Fowler Riverboat. Again, I feel like you have some great options here. At first I was thinking about reading a book about Disney Imagineering because Admiral Joe Fowler, I did not know this, he was an Imagineer, but he was also an Admiral in the Navy. I didn't realize that Walt Disney had like an actual Admiral helping him build the parks. And then he got a riverboat named after him. Perfection! I do not know what book you would read inspired by Country Bear Jamboree, but then again, I'm legitimately terrified by Country Bear Jamboree. Just being honest. In the end, I decided to go for the Grand Circle Tour. I feel like that's something my family loves to do. Just get on the train at Main Street, take the whole loop. It's just so restful. I love the narrator. So going with the theme of a tour around the world, I'm going to read Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. I mentioned 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I've already read that, but when I saw that on the list of original attractions, I thought, oh, it'd be fun to read a Jules Verne. So I'm doing it as my D-ticket pick instead of my E-ticket pick. I already have too many E-ticket picks, as you will see in a minute. Phileas Fogg bets his friends he can circumnavigate the globe in just 80 days, so he sets out for London with his faithful servant Passepartout on an incredible journey. Isn't this just an awesome cover? And I love how like the little guys running are also on the spine. Yeah, I've never read Around the World in 80 Days, but it's such a classic. It's like one of those, you know, titles you hear a lot. And I enjoyed 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, so that'd be fun to do some more Jules Verne. You know, I often try to overlap my Boo to You picks with Victober picks, because Victober is another readathon that goes on throughout the month of October, where you read Victorian literature, but I feel like most of my picks like just missed like the qualifications. Like this was published during the Victorian period, but Jules Verne is a French author, not a British author. And like The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame was published like just a couple years after Queen Victoria's death. And my e-ticket pick is a British novel, but it's from right before the Victorian era. So the e-ticket rides were the most premium, the most desirable, and probably the ones that you would shell out an extra 90 cents to ride more than once. I guess it's no surprise that I'm thinking I'll actually do 2 e-ticket picks. Your e-ticket rides are It's a Small World. I love It's a Small World. I did a It's a Small World costume for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. You have 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea Submarine Voyage, no longer at Disney World, but they do have that at Disneyland. The Mickey Mouse Review, you had Jungle Cruise, Tropical Serenade, which was the original Enchanted Tiki Room, and The Haunted Mansion. I feel like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party is like low-key a celebration of the Haunted Mansion. It's just all Haunted Mansion vibes. And so I've always had like a Haunted Mansion book pick on my Boo to You Readathon list. So I feel like I have to do a Haunted Mansion book, and this one has been on my list for a while. It's The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe. If you know Jane Austen, if you've read Northanger Abbey, you'll know that this book and that author are mentioned in there. Catherine Morland, the heroine, loves Mrs. Radcliffe novels. In fact, Northanger Abbey itself is kind of a parody of a Gothic novel. So I think this would be a great spooky read. I'm sure Madame Leota would approve. I'm sure it would be there in the library at the Haunted Mansion. But just a couple weeks ago, I got some books in the mail and I realized they were too perfect not to do for Jungle Cruise. One book with a great Disney connection that you've probably heard me mention in the past is I Married Adventure by Osa Johnson. This book is in the Sunset Lounge. It's there in the display case. What a fabulous zebra print cover. I've actually connected with the Martin and Osa Safari Museum in Chinook, Kansas, and thanks to them, I've learned so much more about Martin and Osa. They're just so inspiring. They're real life travel photographers and videographers, but from the 20s and 30s. So like cameras had just been invented, like sound was just invented, and they added sound to their films. Like planes became widely available and they learned how to fly and like got some of the first aerial footage of these crazy remote locations. Their names were basically household words back in that era. I feel like you do not hear about them enough because it's so fun to read about them. So obviously I've read I Married Adventure, but I've also read 4 Years in Paradise, and the director of the Martin and Osa Safari Museum had some extra copies of Osa's other books and sent them to me in the mail. They're so beautiful. I'm gonna have to get a close-up of this one. I don't think you can see, but it has like these vines. It has a dust jacket too. I have the dust jacket, but I just had to show you guys the like vines because they're so beautiful. And this one has such a fun little illustration there too. So Bride in the Solomons is about when Osa first married Martin. They were both so insanely young and like so insanely brave. They went to the Solomons Islands in the South Pacific to take pictures. Just looking through the list of chapter names kind of made me laugh. You have As Popular as Poison Ivy, My Own Head Someday, One Moment of Carelessness, Your Life is Over, Nicest People in the Solomons, No Room for Sissies, Rhythms Haunted Me. I'm very excited to pick this up, although I think it's hard to pick. I'm not even sure which to pick. But Last Adventure is more of a true Jungle Cruise pick because they actually were going on a river cruise through North Borneo, the jungle. There's Osa, isn't she beautiful? They left such an incredible legacy of photographs and like her books and their films as well. Look, there is their biplane. It was giraffe printed. I just feel like the Johnsons were such extraordinary people. Like they don't do anything halfway. They're like, okay, we're gonna get a biplane and fly into the middle of the jungle. Let's paint giraffe spots on it. The quote on the frontispiece of this is from Martin Johnson, Osa's husband. I have had the right sort of woman to take along with me into the desert and jungle. If ever a man needed a partner in his chosen profession, it has been I. And if ever a wife were a partner to a man, it is Osa Johnson. I think they just were such an extraordinary team. So I'm thinking I will have to squeeze this into my Boo To You Readathon TBR. It just seems like it would be the perfect Jungle Cruise book. All right, friends, so there we have it. That's my plan for the Boo To You Readathon. Of course, it starts October 1st, and you have the whole month of October to get through your books. As always, you should feel encouraged to pick and choose your challenges. If you only end up reading 1 or 2 books, that's totally fine. The whole idea is just to add some spooky Disney Parks magic to your October reading. As I mentioned, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. Don't forget to go check out Anne's announcement and also stay tuned for our Halloween chats. You can use the hashtag Boo To You Readathon if you're posting about your own reads. I hope you guys have a magical and a spooky day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.